Hello, good evening. Comment allez-vous? Good evening. Hello, 다시 들려. I hope everybody can hear me. Okay. Good afternoon. Hope you're well. I can hear you clearly. Okay. Happy to know that. 제 number 생기나 생기도 쓰는 소나로 나. Long time, Dashidele. All the way from Sikkim, thankfully we are concerned. We are connected through Facebook. Dashidele. Linda, good morning, Rinpochela. Yes, we hear you. Glad to see you. You're in warm room. Yes, so this is my, my family exercise room. So that because it was impossible to do any kind of live streaming outside. So it is just a simple room so that we can continue to engage with each other. Kunzang tenzong pa kuzang bo la Rinpochela se pemba sheba tashdele Rinpochela. Andera Suzanne, dear Rinpochela, my auntie 97 just passed away from COVID-19. Please pray for her. Yes, Suzanne, I will make a prayer for her after the live streaming. I will offer a candle, and then I will make a prayer and dedicate it for your mother. Yeah. Tenawan Cho Rinpoche, bless you. Villas. Terry Velez. Okay, I got your name. Hope your allergy is gone by now. Yes, allergy is gone. It's just that when you travel back and forth, it's just gets a little bit uncomfortable, that's all. Trashit Dele La from Rome's Kungapanjo. For a long time I've not seen you on live broadcasts. Very glad. Thank you. Olivier, good afternoon from France. Rinpoche, hope you're hoping you feel well. Thank you. Krishan, thank you for connecting. Rinpoche, you're welcome. T Wamo, Kuzambola from Bhutan. Kuzambose. Yes. Tashi Trembe, Rinpoche, what is the purpose of this life? What is the purpose of this life? Okay. The purpose of this life, I think, depends on, different individual. It's not something that, oh, this is the purpose of your life, and then, like, here you go, like 200 kilos of responsibilities. I don't think that should be, defined as the purpose of life for everybody. Of course, in our, society, in this world, we hold, some of us, we are less fortunate, and some of us, we are more fortunate, depending on different circumstances and so on and so forth. So I think the purpose of this life, when it comes to, our responsibility that we have and that we continue to have over the time in our life, and of course continuity of having a sense of commitment and having a sense of sense of joy within ourselves, and having a sense of passion in your own work. I think that is very general things. But the most important as a human being, the purpose of our life is to be, to be more kind, and to have a little bit of broader understanding about our own emotions, and then also about our state of mind, and then also contributing our our lifetime, not like fully, but partially, for the environment, and then also, ourselves as an individual, trying to, having a sense of awareness to our own emotion, and also to having a little bit of interest to find what is the nature of the mind. I think is very important, because all of us as a human being, we don't want to have any form of suffering, so therefore we are all equal, so that is a very traditional way of giving teachings. In every traditional teachings, there's always saying that all of us, we are sentient beings, that, the reason that we don't want to suffer at all, the reason that we don't want to be unhappy, and therefore we are all common and we are all equal, right? So by understanding that we are all equal, I think the most important that, to analyze the use of our emotion, and also how it is influencing our future and our judgment, our attitude, our mindset, and trying to understand that as well. Not necessarily that, oh, I have a negative emotion, therefore I'm bad, and not like, like, oh, I'm terrible, I'm a bad person, not coming to the conclusion too quick, but rather trying to analyze gradually, I think is a very important matter. And the most important is to have a sense of content mindset. And then if you think that, you have a good quality, that you have a content mindset and attitude, and then try to serve others, try to help others genuinely, not for pleasure in return, not for recognition in return, not for praise in return, not for fear of criticism in return, but rather having a genuine sense of attitude and continuity of that over time at the end, I think is very much needed, and it is very much important. Yeah. So that's that. Namje Wangmo. Rinpoche, please highlight on how to get rid of negative thoughts. I think there's at the end of the live streaming, I will read probably 2 pages of the teachings of the Shangpa masters, you know, and it's really meaningful, I find, because of course we are, you know, we are engaging, you know, all the time about, you know, question and answer and so on and so forth. So the most important, I think, we need to focus is gradually improve together so that we can, you know, improve with more greater depth in understanding about the Dharma and about our emotions as well. Okay, so the question is, Namje Wangmo is asking question that Rinpoche, please highlight on how to get rid of the negative thoughts. Oh, okay. I think you have to take a few steps back before you come to the conclusion, how to say, saying that is bad or that is good. The very reason that we are all suffering is we believe that the illusion is real. We believe the magic of life is real. And therefore, you know, once we discovered that the magic is unreal, the magic is simply a skill, there's nothing real about it, it is just a skill. And once we discover that, and then we suffer even more. First, we suffer with the illusion. Then after that, we suffer by finding some sort of conclusion that, oh, my magician is simply a trick. You know, it's simply a tricks. It's not a magic. It's not a miracle. And then there's a second level of disappointment in ourselves by thinking that I'm ignorant and I'm stupid and so on and so forth. And that is something that we should not do, because many, you know, Buddhist and non-Buddhist people, when they are introduced to the, you know, the Buddhist centers, and when they engage themselves with some different masters and so on and so forth, you know, what happens is that you know, like people, when it comes to analyzing their emotions, either they are being told that all these are negative and you have to get rid of it, or there's people who believes that, oh, it's my negative karma, and then absolutely doing nothing at all. It's a little bit like saying that, oh, in my country we have a lot of corruption and doing nothing about it. You know, seeing it, knowing it, and doing nothing about it. You know, it's a little bit like somebody in the street, you know, literally getting, you know, desperate need of help, genuine help, not a scam artist. And then you just simply knowing that and then not helping it and not willing to change any sort of external issues. So therefore, you know, ourselves as a human being, you know, you have to minimize all these religious bubbles. If you want to fix the problem of your negative emotions and to solve the positive emotions combined together, you know, with the middle path, and then you have to you know, you have to be far away from all these religious bubbles that you know, that you keep on giving an excuse to yourself, where you say, oh, I have a negative karma, therefore I cannot do it. Or, oh, I don't have a root guru and therefore I cannot do it. Or I don't have a good place to practice, therefore I cannot do it. So all this kind of excuse becomes unreasonable. Maybe you can say once or twice, but repeating the same excuse all over the place, and then that becomes your attitude, that becomes your mindset towards the Dharma, and that is very limited understanding, and that is very much limited motivation, even though it has some sort of you know, positive emotions and positive intention. It is more or less useless. You know, it's not necessarily useful either. So therefore, in order to get rid of the negative thoughts, you know, you should not exaggerate the projection of thoughts, you know, itself. First of all, you know, as ourselves, as in practitioner, we have to see all the projection of thoughts as in simply the reflection of the state of the consciousness, simply a reflection. So when you have all this, when you are simply being quiet and sitting in your room with a beautiful shrine, or maybe not shrine, maybe just a painting, you're sitting, in the 7 posture of Bodhisattva, or maybe you're simply sitting in the meditation posture, and in that very moment, your mind is very calm, your mind is very relaxed, your mind is very, how do I say, very still. And then all of a sudden, slowly, slowly, how do I say, there's a wave of projection of thoughts. There's a wave of projection of thoughts again and again. So in the beginning, it can be something very subtle. And then slowly, slowly, all this projection of thoughts start to arise again and again. And then become, it appears to be quite strong reflection. But then your attitude towards that has to be like what Gampopa said. Gampopa in his teaching, he said 2 sentences is very meaningful. Maybe you should keep that in your mind. He said that, the mind is calm and clear long as you don't touch it, long as you don't try to change it. The water is clear if you don't, if you don't try to make a bubble out of it, if you don't, if you keep on touching the water, and then of course the water will be, unclear. It won't be transparent as it is. So therefore, the mind is calm and transparent if you have that kind of attitude. So attitude, towards our projection of thoughts, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, having this kind of very distance, without any judgment, that kind of a perception is very much needed. Not so much that, oh, I have to think like that, and not so much of an intense attitude. It's more of a relaxed attitude is very much needed. It's a little bit like how do I say, like a shopkeeper, in the street. When you go to Southeast Asia, when you go to India, and also when you go to some part of Europe, when you walk in the street, and if there's a people, literally bringing the object and selling in front of your face, and of course, you don't like it, and then if whoever the seller is, when it's just letting it be, and then the people recognize and appreciate by themselves, right? So that is our normal human behavior. It's nothing to do with, not so much to do with the religious ideas. So therefore, like Gampopa said, the less you touch or altercate with your mind, it is much more easier to see it as it is. The more you stop, the less you touch the water, the more transparent the water becomes by itself. And that is the teachings of Gampopa himself. So, so try to have that kind of a mindset. It didn't say, oh, you have to make an excuse about yourself, about the bad karma and good karma and so on and so forth. It didn't say any of that. It's just trying to tell you to have a gentle attitude. Trying to have a gentle attitude, not a stiff attitude, If you try to have a little bit like, oh, I need to be good, like a very much like a stiff attitude, then, how do I say, your mind creativity and the free open mindset is not there. Your art part of, your art personality of your mind is not there. Free and open mindset is not there. So if you try to be a little bit like, I need to be good, like a very stiff, and then that doesn't help. So try to have a gentle, calm, positive attitude, not trying to be positive attitude, just simply not distance from negative, distance from all the busy thoughts, So, and then when you see all this projection of thoughts, and then you say, you say nothing, and you see it as it is. And then in the teachings of the different master, they always say this one, Chubur Chungshin Chulatim. Chubur Chungshin Chulatim, it means there's a bubble arise from the water, and then again the bubble itself dissolve into the water, right? So therefore, when you see all the projection of thoughts of negativity, negativity, then you just simply witness, in order to accumulate a negative karma, you need to, how do I say, conclude, you have to combine few things together in order to say, I have accumulated a negative karma. Shi Samba Jorwa Tartu, is basically, first is thinking negative, and then, in having a bad intention, and then harming, then knowing that you are harming, and then after that, at the end, being rejoiced that, how to say, that you harm the other person, So in order to call a negative, you need to, achieve few things in order to say that is negative, So therefore, don't try to say, I have negative thoughts, negative thoughts, negative thoughts. Just try to say discomfort thoughts, just little bit, slightly discomfort thought. And how do you face it? You face it with a gentle attitude. You do not face it with, I need to dissolve my negative attitude. I need to dissolve my negative attitude. Don't try to have a stiff mindset. Number one is not to have a stiff mindset. Number two, seeing the projection of thoughts as a reflection of our mind. That's number two. And then number three is a continuity of that, how do I say, continuity of that mindset is an important matter. So don't try to say, I have negative thoughts, therefore I'm bad. Don't try to say, I have positive thoughts, therefore I'm great. Don't try to be full of excitement, having enthusiasm in different kind of work in life is good. But then if you try to, put so much excitement into the meditation method, then it will not work. So try to have a little bit of gentle, open mindset is very much needed. But just because you realize that does not mean that if somebody slap you on your face, you are not going to respond with kindness right away. Okay, so just because you have discovered the, positive thoughts and negative thoughts, it doesn't mean that somehow you understood everything. Intellectually understanding is one thing, developing the qualities is another one, and finally having a full conclusion result with a great realization is the final chapter that you need to reach. And then once you reach to that point, and then there may be a possibility that, if even people criticize you, you respond with kindness, or you respond with absolutely nothing, with no hatred and no emotions of anger and so on and so forth. So don't expect that, oh, I realize my negative emotions and I realize my negative thoughts and therefore, I reach somewhere. Don't try to put yourself too high, So that's that. Pema Nurbu, my grandmother died yesterday. I shall be highly grateful if Rinpoche could pray for her peaceful journey from Bhutan and the land of Buddha. Pema Nurbu, I will make a prayer for your grandmother and after the live streaming, and then I'll offer a candle, I will make an Amitabha prayer, I will Lokiteshvara prayer, including the 6 Mahakala prayer. I will do that. That I promise you. Okay, so where's the next question? Namja, one more to just thank you, Rinpoche. You're welcome. Tenzin Yanjin Rinpoche la Tashtele, what is your opinion about meditation practice in order to recognize our own mind? Should one to meditate daily on a cushion or go to a hermitage as it did high practitioner in the past? That Tenzin Angela, Dangi Purge Shuguin, Injiki Shuguin, that Injiki Shushin, that the second summer Kodugro. Tambungi Purge Tsikashu. The Karsogo Tandate Gom Yamlin Chia, Seandrabotan, Tam dea, Seanjirwa. Inji Minji, ya Shinan and Zuni, the Nepa, Mimesala, De Guayata, the Rikanla, De Guayata. That Gechambo rete na tangbo nyamlen tes mebala tangbo ne je charito kai mebala tin lamsang tin nga shingna na na drogin rikang na drogin sene je cham de ga drogin sene tende do chewa na je penya ge sablu ne nyang ga yus den zan tangbo je ngang so je nyamne 제겐지 인정 되는 제 당부 원조 저거 냠nen나 되는 이 단계 냠nen 저거 된잖아 되는 된나 신수수기 되는 최슈사 라마 림보체 수에나레 출루 가리나레 강케바 강요 말이 거기 상지기 최레 마랑기 최세야다 코랑기 최세 마랑기 최세야지 요 말이 거기 상지기 최레 그 주바 만다 테스트 요리 거기 칼로 까추 나한테 테스트 만다 요리 강왕 나한테 테스트 만다 요리 냠len nangtang tes mandra yore inaya jig 냠len kare inaya go jamdo dan juk mo malam dan tene kila tene jig 냠len chedu ka su tene semba mayin wa chene 냠len mutu ne je go yorwa 냠len sedu ka su la laga je gomi sewala tene 냠len mangyu la ra legi mare 냠len mangbo che sewage debu dan tene mutu ne 냠len nae ge tene quality la wa ta jig zo zhou semba maingwa chene tene nyamlen mutune nang tobaina tene cham chodu joba de dire rogoyor oda nga cham degi yesene zobu de regangla de semba de ma chom nang la cham dewaina tene oda shinkam la nga cham de senaya sewaina tene pentoya yo marwa odin zan tene jig cham de yin sedu kasala semba ta zopo nisha maingwa chene mutune nyamle nang tukkoya de gechimur denza tangbone jinga riganan rogoyo seyandrabo de shinnanan zugin seyandrabo tende jegoya yomare mila tengoya yomare oda tingmachik endre dotsani tene yanjik ma yangja twende yomare odenza tene 참데 수도가서 인지 민지 요런 보지 되고야 요말 당보 참 수도가서라 니마를 레네르 무튼이 제거해야 돼 개침불 되는 갈래 된 둔자르레 된 갈래는 다와다 된 갈래 로로 뭐다 텐데 진네는 즉 냠nen라 되네 지금 제부터야다 되는 무튼에 냠낸 남고야 돼 개침불 되네 개체쇼라고 되네 라말라 대바 곤조숨라 대바 tene yedam re chujong soma re oda tenzo gi nyamle lama susuke lama zane tene wanglong chesum shuwa zam mayimba tene susu semba dingne halam jik injige gelam confidence lagra tingsu des yebe ke tonte nyamle tangbo nang tukor oda lokashi tende nyamle nang to baina tene dege jula oda shinkam nan drone nyamle chen senanda nyawa lan drone nyamle chen senanda oda ka zambolling seba sum tene kawa androna ta che keba kankuji yomar deinza tambo shi zawan rabade goncho sumna teba ta tene chamba ta ningje tene nyamlen nangdu kapsula semba mayin wache tene nyamlen ge tamala tene yukwa malamche tene tamzik zangma yogoya de gechambore nyamlen nga de keremde gomgyo zogremde gomgyo chagja chenbo gomgyo sene kanende lawe che tene semba ne tene je tamzik sonya mewaina 때문에 냠nen기 되부터 그 말. 어디인자더니 담직 송고야 되겠죠 말. 담직 송서야 돼. 민지 미든지 추로든지 도드값을 게모셔야 돼. 벨레 트라벨하고 그 말와. 벨레 트라벨다 장보 트라벨다 미스 정박이 있네 제도 그러와. 어디인자더니 벨레 트라벨스도 값을 담직 송을 하고 그 말이. pele travia tang jangbo travia de kuma gyan che tu guri de yin zang an zu tamzik song se ya de chukba majab zamchi chukba majab zamchi mi tu de ka su la tini ya pele she chosho da chi da tende ke lega che tang la de nga tamzik ya bo song gyu se wa ina de noror de yin zang tamzik ya bo song se de ka su la mi chang ma le pele trav ga yo mar ke she ga yo mar su su ge la ma le teba tene konjo la teba tene semjen la chambada 닝제 요바에나 어따 tin난시가 모트네 냠네 나와이네 tene 담직 거 대가라 레디어 미참만 냠데 벨레 트랍 tene 초 당겨세 안드라고 다 tene 야체고 마체고세 tene 수수드네 파체 셈바델라 yen소나 tene 제 냠네 가르메세 가르치고서는 tene 레부 타마델라 오네 전에 뇌지 마도 배야 요말 대인자 수수 르당 셈 Jawa meba mutuni nyamne che goya de lama konjo. Tene chujong soma yedamri geche shudu diri. Tene chodo ki tamzik dinsu ko rangshin ki redukri. Oda chodo dinsu la tene dawa tumbu shigor sene patsu pele tab gemo shor tene jangbo tab dina tene de tusu cholar. Den zang tene chodo setu kapsula chodo tsama sanje yo marwa. Chodo shenpa dinsu koran zu tsama sanje yo marwa tsama la shedang tumo ngajal chado yoyo kari. 때 여바 점기 메둑자 말와 이나 소소게 되네 파직 오즈잖네 소되고 말와 데인산트니 냠네세도 까솔라 드네 담직 장만 고걸 담직 장만세도 까솔라 벨레 트랍랍고 말이 게모쇼랍고 말이 인 미카시 삼나탄 단테 담직 손세도 까솔라 미차마 냠드든직 녜기 쳐도 레슨 파자 추저 제거야지도 온다 된데 제거요 말 파시 미션 발라 장보 트랍 소소소소 고걸 당한테 직발 말하면서 했더니 최냠낸 지겐스도 가서더니 semba상보체 장보체 덴바치기 쓰는 거랑서 상지기 대 최가래 나샤와 딩랑서 sem바나 냐기 세월을 때는 거랑서 남바 상지비기 최냠낸 지겐스는 라비어와 벨레트라킨 자존시킨 제가더니 만남바 상지비기 최냠낸 지겐스는 거직수수소라 자존시와 지바와 어디인산더니 지 당보 냠는 제도 가서 데셈바르르지 되는 요공 온도네제 되는 라마 수수게 자벨라마 출룩가래 이내 되니 제 그래서고 수수게 참데스데 되니 갈래 되니 직 수수게 냠네 당한테는 제부 갈래 거지 야지 레용도 가서라 어떠더니 오늘 전에 신감는 전에 녀와는 전에 신난나는 전에 리강난 전에 개박한 거지요 말. 다 당번에 드네 야지 들어가지 마서 들어가지 드네 간삼진에 드네 직수수엔 되고 마트에 드네 드네 직 참마 캔서고 차도 그래. 대인제 당보 수수 자벨라마 수이나 어디자 추슈 냠네나. 드네 되게 줄라 갈래 거지 직 셈게 트루바데마 랑싱기 마시 용데 갑술라 다 된나 신게더니 네웬바 템바 직바 then no then not that tended so there was one person asking questions about how to say should we sit in the cushion or should we go in the mountains and as in practitioner and what I said is that ourselves as in practitioner we should not go into the excitement I'm going to the forest and I'm going to the jungle and so on and so forth. The most important that we need to implement from the beginning is that we need to have an understanding about the suffering and the reality of the suffering, and then also having some form of commitment between ourselves and the lineage or any lineage that is linked with the Lord Buddha's teaching, not some kind of my lineage or his lineage or her lineage. It's more to do with the Lord Buddha's lineage. So long as there's a Lord Buddha's lineage existed, and then trying to have that some form of commitment to receive empowerment and teachings and practice, and try to do like a short-term retreat, like a 1-day retreat, 2 days retreat, 3 days retreat, then it becomes a week and month, and then the time will increase by itself over the time, so it's not something that you need to prove somebody, and then the other thing I have told that individual is that as in practitioner nowadays, we say, I have to be devoted to the Buddha Dharma Sangha, and then we say, I have to be good with every Dharma brothers and sisters. But in reality, it doesn't work like that. You know, we think that, oh, keeping the good samaya is about keeping friendly with the Dharma brothers and sisters. But in reality, it doesn't function like that. It doesn't function like that because everybody is not enlightened being. Everybody still has their emotions and negativity and positivity all mixed together. So therefore, you cannot just go around and be tricky about yourself, you know, like, oh, showing when you meet other people and then showing a happy face and tricky personalities and then telling yourself, oh, I have a good samaya and things like that. That is totally crap, you know. So ourselves, when we call ourselves as a Buddhist practitioner, it meant to be, what it meant is, I look at my emotion, I try to be truthful, I try to be honest. If you try to be tricky and manipulative, you are lying to yourself and you are cheating on other people and misusing the Lord Buddha's teaching. So manipulative mindset attitude is something that we have to abandon, you know. So therefore, you know, try to avoid all this unnecessary, I have to have a good samaya with everybody. Don't. Focus on your practice, retreat, even it's day by day, it's okay. It doesn't have to be months and years, you know. So that, and then slowly, as you continue to practice, and then the positivity and the samaya, you know, your samaya, the most important is your Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and your deity and the protector practice. That is your samaya, and nothing else, and your guru, most importantly. And then all the rest of the samaya, you know, the little things will come by itself. If you try to grab into little things and try to have all this kind of a tricky personalities and saying, oh, I want to have a good relation and Dharma brothers and sisters and smiling with everybody and then talking bad about them behind their back, that's not samaya. That's just a tricky personality and a very cheap attitude and a cheap personality, and that can be done even if you are not a Buddhist practitioner. So if you continue with that kind of a personality, why don't you just leave the Buddhism behind and just do what you think that you are good at, you know? So that's that. So that's what I just answered to that individual. So going to the next question. William. As a lay practitioner of meditation, should I begin a Tonglen practice? William. Yes, you can do all the Tonglen practice, and you should not worry about, oh, if I get sick or if I will be, you know, unwell because I do Tonglen practice. Don't. So just try to do Tonglen practice, you know. If you can really take other people's sickness, I'm sure there will be different investors who will invest on you right away, you know, due to all the physical health issue going on in this world, you know, for the centuries and centuries. So it doesn't work, you know. So therefore, don't worry in that direction. Just try to, in the Tonglen practice, it's more to do with ourself. Visualization, it is meant for all the sentient being. But in reality, it helps ourselves to minimize the illusion of our own pride and our own ignorance. And that is the purpose of Tonglen practice. You know, our Lokiteshvara, Chenrezig, he said, you know, he appeared in the clear vision of one of the Shampa lineage master. And that Shampa master his name is Girgampa. So in his vision that our Lokiteshvara appeared, he said, continue to practice compassion, and then all the negativities of the self-righteousness will dissolve by itself over time. You know, so what is happening in this world and ourself in this very moment is that we try to say, oh, I'm a very selfish person, I'm a very negative, and I want to dissolve my, you know, selfishness. And we, you know, we never try to practice it, and we always say, I want to dissolve my selfishness. But we have to understand what is the opposite of the selfishness. The opposite of selfishness is Tonglen practice, compassion practice. So Tonglen practice, compassion practice, in the visualization it may seem to all the sentient being, but in the reality is to improve ourselves, and is for personal development, to improve ourselves. By the result of the Tonglen practice, there's a less danzin, there's a less self-attachment, and due to the less attachment, and then there's a less illusion, and due to the less illusion, and there's a less strength influencing into our mind, so therefore, of course, anybody should do Tonglen practice, and it is absolutely not harmful at all, so try to have a less namdo, or less imagination. When I say less imagination, I meant a fearful imagination, So many people, when they do Tonglen practice, Chue practice, they have all this fearful imagination, and it's absolutely useless, So therefore, when you do Tonglen practice, try to embrace your compassion and try to open your heart and your mind and say, I generously give to all the sentient beings of all my positivity and accumulation that I have accumulated until now, and I take all the sentient beings' negativity into my body, speech, and mind. Therefore, by the result of that, all of their negativity is completely dissolved, permanently dissolved, and now they have the plant and the seed to reach the enlightened mind, enlightened mind. And then with that joyful mindset attitude, and then you meditate a little bit in that projection, in that mind. And if there's some negativity, projection of thought arise in your mind in that very moment, and you just simply look, look towards that and nothing else. You don't have to say that is good, that is bad, or maybe because of my past life, present life, future life, all these are unnecessary gossip. So minimize that by itself, by simply witnessing, by simply looking towards it. So that's that. Ujin Tenzin, thank you so much for your teaching, Rinpoche from Koliga. Naso Ujin Tenzin. Okay. SF remembers your kindness, Rinpoche. Thanks for that. Tringi Shipemse. Rinpoche, how to start a basic meditation? How to start a basic meditation? Basic meditation. There's no such as a basic meditation or high meditation or deep meditation or secret meditation. There's no hierarchy within the meditation, and that's the first thing that you need to keep in mind. Tandanzo je gom jakin segenda gom javela tonan yukin sutne tene pe tadi chaje chembo dan tene je tadi gom di pe sabore de anzo hakugumare senda watan tene ade gom di tene je anzo michumalare do senda o tende samata ayomar. So to start a basic meditation, the basic meditation for all of us, I think the most important that we need to apply is a preparation. Preparation is very important, because many of us, when we think about meditation, we think that, okay, like I light the candles and I light the incense and then I'm meditating. So the most important is that preparation is very important. Preparation is like this. If you're Buddhist or non-Buddhist, doesn't matter. If you're a Buddhist, if you have a proper shrine, even you have a just simple picture of the Buddha Shakyamuni, it's still fine. You keep the picture and then you say, I make a prostration and a refuge to all the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Buddha, the one who showed the enlightened path, the Dharma, the absolute truth, the Sangha, the source of all the inspiration and the refuge and the 3 jewels. I make a prostration deeply from my body, speech and mind, willingly, without any sense of obligation. So having that kind of a, you know, very open and gentle attitude is very much needed, not a very stiff mindset. That's number 1. And number 2 is that, you know, you do make a 3-time prostration, and along at that time you think that all the sentient beings of your past life, present life and the future, all of them, you know, reciting the refuge prayers and the refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, willingly from the heart, and chanting all together. You know, so just try to imagine a little bit. You don't have to imagine every single person, you know. And then you don't have to visualize, especially those that you don't like right away. You know, you don't have that capacity yet. So, you know, make a 3-time prostration and try to sit in the meditation posture. Try to sit in the meditation posture, and then, you know, meditation posture, it means very simple. You sit straight, you know, not a military straight. You know, if it's military, then your back is all the way, you know, your backbone is all the way in. It's not straight, you know, so keep your backbone straight, keep your shoulder, you know, in a natural posture, your face a little bit down, your eyes a little bit down, you know, you open your mouth a little bit, your tongue a little bit up, your feet in a cross leg, or, you know, a little bit like this. Yeah. And then head a little bit down, eyes a little bit, gazing a little bit towards your nose direction. Not literally looking into your nose, but, you know, and just simply in that direction. And then your hand in as a Buddha posture, you know, as a Amitabha posture, or either you just simply put your 2 hands on your kneecap. And then in that very moment, and then you do like this. The first step, the real first step is like this. You breathe out. You know, you breathe out through your nose, and then try to focus your mind to the breathing sensation. You know, the very sensation of breathing. Don't think about where the breath of the air went, how it went, where it went, when it went. You know, when it went, where it went, how it went. These 3 things, do not ask that question. Okay? So, when it went, how it went, the way it went, don't ask all these questions. Just simply witness, simply witness to the breathing. When you're breathing out, natural pace. You know, you don't have to breathe, you know, you don't have to breathe in like desperately. You breathe out, and when you breathe out, you know, you simply witness and be the judgment, you know, simply be the judge and be the witness of the breath. Don't think about where the breath went, how the breath went, and where the, you know, how does it look like, and how did it went, and where did it went, all that 3 questions. Abandon it. Not forcefully, but just don't speculate that. You know, if you speculate, then your mind is gossiping. If your mind is gossiping, and then you are distracted. You are no longer meditating. Okay? So therefore, I shall repeat again. When you're breathing out, focus on the breath, have a gentle attitude. That's the most important. If you try to have if you try to have that kind of a very stiff attitude, a little bit like, you know, I have only 5 rupees in my hand, you know, I cannot give that to anybody, you know. If you try to have that kind of attitude, you're wrong. You cannot do meditation with that kind of a stiff attitude. You know, especially I see some people, you know, not all of you, but somebody else in a different universe, let's put it that way so nobody feels offended. You know, some people, they're doing like this, you know, like very stiff attitude. So stiff attitude is something you have to abandon, you know. Too much questions. All the questions should be asked before the meditation is started, before the practice is started. All the questions should be silence for the moment, temporarily, when you're doing a meditation. Okay, so there's a clear principle. If you speculate, whether it's positive or negative, you're distracted. Okay, so there's 2 things that you have to watch out. Number one, all the unnecessary questions, minimize that. Second, speculation about positivity or negativity, about all the projection of thoughts, then your mind is distracted. Understand? So you can do all of that before and after your session. Maybe your session is 15 minutes, maybe your session is 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. Start with a few seconds in the beginning. Then the time will increase by itself. Just like where you watch a beautiful movie. When you watch a very beautiful movie, that's something that you've been desperately want to watch, and you don't know how the time goes, right? So that's the passion that we have to keep when we are doing meditation, but not with the extreme excitement, like, oh my God, I have to do this, and neither that. We don't need excitement, nor the stiff attitude. The extreme excitement and the stiff attitude, abandon that. Speculation of all the projection of thoughts, that's gossip, abandon that. Questioning so many things during the meditation, abandon that. You can do that after the session, whether it's 20-minute session or whether it's 1 hour session, doesn't matter. And you can do before the session started. So coming back to the meditation, you breathe out. When you're breathing out, just simply be the witness, and then simply, focus your mind to the breathing out. And then when you're breathing in, and then simply focus in that, nothing else, a little bit like a river, when you see the river, and then along with that, simultaneously along with the river, there's a different line within the water, right? Or up, surface of the water, underneath the water. There's a current, simultaneously there's a different lines of the water. Every single, whether it's a long, big, very large river, or whether it's a very small river, so you simply witness all that, not having the imagination of, I need to make a boat, or I need to cross the river, or I need to drink the water, or I need to take the water back home. None of that. Simply witnessing the river, So starting the breathing out, breathing in the normal pace, and not with excitement or stiff attitude. That's number one. Number two is that then if that is working well, and then you simply focus into a simple object. Maybe it can be a Buddha statue, maybe it can be a beautiful flower, But simply you put the beautiful flower in front of you, you put a piece of stone, and you simply look, your mind focus in that, nothing beyond that, nothing before that, simply that. And if you face some interruption of projection of thoughts, then you simply look at the projection of thoughts. As you look at the projection of thoughts, as it is arise from the mind, it will dissolve into the mind itself. So therefore, by that understanding, not with a speculation, but just a gentle understanding. You don't have to repeat the whole teachings in your mind where you say, all the projection of thoughts arise from the mind and dissolves into the mind. You don't have to go through all this kind of different teachings in your head. Just a very subtle touch. It's a little bit like a final painting. When the painting is almost done, then you make a final touch. Small things that makes the difference, right? For some matters in our life. So, little bit like a small touch, not extremely overwhelmingly reacting, but just gentle touch, seeing the projection of thoughts, knowing in that very moment instantly, and that, all the projection of thoughts arise from the mind will dissolve into the mind, just like the bubble arises from the water, dissolve into the water, having that kind of a gentle attitude. And then again, you come back to the visualization, whether it's a piece of stone or whether it's a Avalokiteshvara statue, whether it's a Buddha statue, but just try to focus on something very simple. And then after that, then try to listen to the sound wave. If there's a sound of a river, sound of the bird, or sound of the natural trees, the sound of the trees during the, wind blowing, and then simply witness the sound. Nothing before that, nothing after that, just simply witnessing this, the sound, no need to think about how the sound went and where the sound went and how the sound looks, and no questioning, just simply witnessing. Then once you have that kind of a stability, then the questionings and about all these things and where the consciousness exists and what is the definition of the the mind and all that will come later. No need to rush into that. Okay, so that's that. And then if you have a time, then you listen to His Holiness Dalai Lama's teaching, as he's giving teaching very often in online. Just try to follow his teachings. And of course there's so many different masters from the different traditions, so so then that's your preference, sorry. What is the difference between the Sonam Gitso and Yishi Gitso? So that basically there's a two path. One is ultimate path and one is a relative path. The relative path is such as making a gora, chanting, melody, building stupas, doing a visualization practice, anything to do with the duality, anything to do with the duality of mind. If you are projecting a deity, that is part of the Sonam Gitso. If you are making a melody, making an offering to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, that is still projecting. That is Sonam Gitso. If you are building a stupa, that is Sonam Gitso. Yishi Gitso is non-duality accumulation. Non-duality accumulation means being in the state of the nature of the mind and the continuity of that attitude, and under the authentic recognition. Okay, not some kind of a crazy recognition, but absolute recognition after analyzing again and again and again. Once you recognize the nature of the mind, and then the continuity of that is the Yishi Gitso. Sonam Gitso is anything to do with the duality, such as prostration, chanting, building stupa, visualizing a deity, doing yoga practice, doing retreat, all this, receiving teachings, giving time to other people with generosity, kindness, patience, and all of that is Sonam Gitso. And then Yishi Gitso means the ultimate accumulation is simply being in the non-duality state of mind, to be simply present with the nature of the mind itself. But Sonam Gitso is something that we have to focus on. Then once we accumulate enough Sonam Gitso, then the Yishi Gitso, the non-duality accumulation will come by itself. There will be very few people who can really actually start with the ultimate practice, because our mind is polluted. So it takes time to clean it. So I'm looking for the next question. Michelle, do we need to seek permission or blessing from our Guru when we are going into our first meditation session? I think that depends on your teacher. If you already have a teacher, then depends on the method of your teacher. Thank you. Lazarus, you're welcome. So basically, I think I have to answer to you, because Michelle is asking a question about, do we need to have a blessing or permission in order to, when we start our first meditation session? Mitripa, Mitripa, he's a Mahasiddha, India. He said, in order to do practice, you don't need astrology. You just simply do it. Basically don't waste your time with, speculation about all the astrology things. If you simply want to be a practitioner, there's no need of astrology where you have to consult with which one is good date and good day and all these things. Just simply do it. Try to have a less superstitious mind, and that's the most meaningful journey you can start with. Okay, so now I'm waiting for the next question. Dear Rinpoche, which practice would you recommend for a day or a weekend and during weekend retreat at home? The retreat at home, for all of us, I think we should start with our Avalokiteshvara practice, because that's what my predecessor was promoting, wherever he goes, and that's what His Holiness is promoting all the times. So that's the easiest thing that you can do without all the empowerment and transmission. So, and that is also meaningful, because the reality and the cause of suffering is extreme self-attachment, and the very reality of the self-attachment is due to the illusion, illusion, and the very essence of that particular illusion is the ignorance that we have accumulated over time. So therefore, our Avalokiteshvara practice is beneficial for all of us. Whether you are in the monastery, whether you are in the school, whether you are senior, junior, doesn't matter. It's meaningful, because if you practice it, and then it's something that it will develop some positivity by itself over the time. Tashi Okay. Jigme. And Jigme is asking question, why forgiveness is important? Is it okay to forgive repeatedly despite knowing that the person has done wrong to us? You need to, I think my understanding about forgiveness is not about giving a chance. You forgive somebody because you don't want to accumulate your own emotions and your own personality combined together with hatred. So that's the most important. So if you cannot forgive somebody, and then you just don't forgive somebody, it's simple as that. You don't have to go against your, you don't have to go against your capacity. If you go against your capacity, then you're hurting yourself. If you cannot forgive, somebody who have betrayed you and hurt you and harmed you and misused you and taken advantage of you when you are younger, when you're older, when you are in this current age, it doesn't matter. Basically anybody who cheat on you, taken advantage of you and misused you and manipulated you and betrayed you, any of that, you have all the righteous meaning not to forgive that person. And you should not forgive that person if you don't have the capacity to forgive. And you should forgive if you have the capacity to forgive. That is the most important. The most important of all is, yourself as an individual, not spending time with the hatred and anger and hatred. You don't, the most important is don't increase your personality combined together with the anger and hatred. That's the most important. And another most important is just because you forgive somebody, by yourself, it doesn't mean that you give them a chance to take advantage of you again. So you can forgive by yourself in your mind, but you don't have to, forgive externally. If there's a person who's taken advantage of you and betraying you and misusing you, and you make a very clear line, as simple as that. Because eventually you're not just helping yourself, you're also helping that person, from his or her own wrongdoing. So you don't have to say, oh, I want to forgive everybody, and then throwing yourself into the sea not knowing how to swim. You don't have to do that. If you have a capacity to forgive, forgive it. If you don't have a capacity to forgive, don't forgive it. And the most important is not about the other person's acknowledgement of your forgiveness or not. The most important is that yourself as a human being not accumulating with anger and hatred within you as an emotion and mixing together and wasting time with all the negativity. That's the most important. You don't have to forgive that person in face to face. If that person betrayed you, whether it's he or she, or misused you or taken advantage of you, or disrespected you, of all the things that you have witnessed with your own mind, with your own eyes, with the physical evidence, not some kind of a gossip, not some kind of a rumor, but with your own eyes, with your own evidence, that if you have found and seen and witnessed something, then you should not forgive that person, but in return, in yourself, you should not also, just because you don't forgive somebody, it doesn't mean that you have to, keep the hatred within you. You don't have to forgive anybody, but don't, at the same time, don't try to accumulate hatred and the anger mixed together. If you don't have a capacity to forgive, it's absolutely fine. You can take all the time you need, You are born in this world alone, and you are going, you're going to die alone. Nobody's going to come along with you, other than your own positive qualities, other than your own accumulation of positive karma and the negativity. So not forgiving, does not accumulate any negativity, or karma and so on and so forth. Because there's billions of people in this world. Just because you don't forgive that person, does not mean that other person will stop living. Other person will still continue to take advantage other people and continue to live his or her life, But if you don't have the capacity to forgive, it's absolutely fine. If you have a capacity to forgive, it's absolutely fine. But there's two things you have to keep in mind. Do not let that person take advantage or disrespect or misuse you again, Second, do not combine yourself with the anger and hatred all mixed together and wasting your precious time with that unnecessary emotions. And that's the most two important thing that you have to keep in mind. Jigmela. Okay, so Ujin Rinzin Rinpoche, about earlier meditation instruction, when we start meditating on the sound, do we keep our attention to the Buddha statue, flower too, or let go of the image and only meditating on the sound? These two are in Ujin Rinzin, these two are two different things. First is, first method, okay? There's a 3 method at the moment. Not to be confused, everybody. There's a 3 method. The first method is focusing on breathing, right? You don't have to do all this counting thing. It's just your mind will be all over the place. Focus on breathing in and out in a natural pace. That's number 1, right? The number 2 is Buddha statue, focusing your mind into that without any intense attitude. Number 3 is about the sound. The sound, it's a completely different chapter. So, and then once that is, improved over the time, your sense of clarity in your mind, and then slowly you can, go with a more further challenge, without risking too much. Okay. Will karma or evil done or by parents pass on their kids or child as their sins? Absolutely not. In the teachings it says that the things that you have accumulated, whether it's positive or negative, will only receive to the person who have accumulated. It will not go away to or transmit to somebody. So that's that. Okay, I will take probably one question. Tonglen practice. Separate during or after meditation. Tonglen practice has to be probably make a separate session is better. Like if you make a morning session and the evening session, so you can do like Tonglen practice in the morning session, and then the evening session you keep the meditation session, so that will be more helpful. Okay, so now I think I'm going to read the I'm going to read the teachings of the Shampa masters, what they have witnessed and what they have received from our Lokiteshvara and from the Grintara. So these are the very word of the Grintara and our Lokiteshvara that has been given and taught to the Shampa masters. His name is Kirgampa. He was a great practitioner since he was a very young age, since he was a very little teenager, basically. So these are the teachings that he had received from the Grintara and Avalokiteshvara. This is what Grintara said. So these two are very important sentences. If you try to minimize the attitude of, this is external, this is me, this is I, this is them, if you minimize slowly, this is them, this is me, this is me, this is them, this is called Ninjin, the attachment to the two forms of the emotions, and that is Ninji. Ninji means this is me, this is them, this is me, this is them. Positivity, negativity comes afterwards, but just that sensation of this is me, this is them, if you try to minimize that or abandon that over time, and Dwesha Ngangishi means all the attachment will dissolve by itself. That's number one, Grindara's teaching. If you try to see all the sentient being as your parents and the families and relatives, and all the anger will dissolve by itself. You don't have to say, I need to dissolve my anger, I need to dissolve my anger. It will dissolve by itself. And then if you try to, if you meditate combined together with the sense of clarity, if you have a clarity in the meditation practice, and then the ignorance will dissolve by itself. Okay, the third sentence. Selatome temu insutem. Game dosum ranser. Dosum ranser tezeme veransen roani. Nyumoranser and nitute. She son. Tuji chembe shalne. So this is the teachings from our Lokiteshvara. all the external movement, in life is obstacles. There's no excuse, there's no soft middle way here. In all the external activities, is the illusion and the magic of demons. So it's not a demon with the horn in the head, with the fangs in the mouth, and not that kind of demon. It's basically distraction, you know. All this external activities is a distraction, you know. That's what we call do. Do doesn't mean, you know, demon. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Dunzi yuin duki parching chawdan nasu tosu michawe. Try not to see all this, you know, negative emotion as your friend or ally. Try not to be tricky and manipulative with your own negative emotions. That's number 2. So, in order to minimize all the negative challenges, you know, try to do some form of retreat or solitary retreat on ourselves. So, like, you know, right now we are in pandemic, you know, we are all of us, we are in the solitary place, right? So, so try to do some kind of retreat. So the definition of retreat is doing Avalokiteshvara, Grindara, you know, and for 20 minutes, 30 minutes per day, in the morning or in the evening, it doesn't matter. You know, after meal, before meal, also doesn't matter. Just do it, you know. So it's also a definition of doing a retreat. Tela lome chiwe samba rig, tela lome chiwe samba and chiwa samba rig. And then our Avalokiteshvara is saying the life is very fragile. So try to see as it is. The life itself is a very fragile. Basically, don't try to be arrogant, you know, with your ignorance. So that's the teaching I want to share with you for this time. And for the next time, there will be other teachings from the same master. His name is Gyagrampa. And then, you know, so the next one probably will be Sanje Tumba, Sanje Nyentu. So that's that. So I want to say thank you very much for joining here. And, you know, thank you for being here and spending time with me. And first of all, I want to say, please look after your health and your families, and I'm wishing you all the best. And in this very difficult time, and please look after your health and yourself, and, you know, wherever you go. And, you know, my prayers is always with you, wherever you are, you know. So all my best wishes and tashidele to everyone who have participated. And we will see each other on the next Sunday. So that's something, right? So that's that. And thank you very much for joining and for your time, and see you next Sunday at the same time. Have a good night and good day to everyone. Bye-bye.